I fed him his breakfast at 5 a.m. He tried to leave for work with me. And this is where something higher came in. I got to work that day and I was feeling really off. I was getting, palpitations. I felt really sick and I never leave work early. And something told me that day I needed to leave work early. So, I told them I had to go home and, I was just planning to go home and lay down. And when I walked in the door, Tambo usually greets me, but he was nowhere to be found. And so I ended up finding him in the dining room. He was sprawled out. His gums were very pale. Couldn't even stand on his feet. Very lethargic. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew it was a life or death situation at that point. So I rushed him over to the emergency vet, and they took him back and they did an ultrasound. And I remember this vividly. They came out and said, "Look, he's in the process of dying right now. He's bleeding out. His spleen is covered in what we believe are cancer masses, and one of them ruptured, and now he's bleeding out." So at that point they said, "Look, we can try to do surgery, but what that's going to entail is we're going to have to remove the spleen, and we're going to have to give him a blood transfusion. And by the way, that's going to cost anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000." So they said that the odds of him making it through this surgery are pretty grim. But I'd say this was the turning point for me, Jennifer. I looked at this dog, and this is a dog that I've was really bonded with, and I looked in his eyes, and I always say the eyes are the window to the soul. And he was telling me he wasn't ready. He said, "Dad, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go." And I told them right then and there. I said I want to move forward with the surgery, and I called Jason up from Project Canine Hero. And I told him what was going on, and all he asked me is like, "Chris, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Jason, he's not ready. He's not ready to go. He's telling me he's not ready." And he said, "We got your back, 100%." And they funded the surgery. And Tambo made it through the surgery. Was up and eating within 2 days, which was kind of unheard of. That just shows the fighter that he is. And then they told me from there, we got to wait for the biopsy results to come back, which was going to take a few days. And they said that, if it is cancer like we suspect, he's probably only has about 2 weeks to live from here. So, of course, the biopsy came back and it was cancer, and it was a cancer called hemangiosarcoma. So for those that aren't familiar with that, it's a very aggressive and terminal cancer. The odds of dogs living past a few weeks or even a month is very low odds. Next step was getting an appointment with with an oncologist. I live in the northern Maryland area, so I found one right outside of a good team at Blue Pearl Hospital in Malvern, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. And that's when I got my oncology appointment set up with him, and that's when we kind of started the journey. And I remember vividly going in there, and they're like, "Look, if the cancer has spread to the liver, the chemotherapy is not going to be able to do anything." But he doesn't have much time. But they took him back for this ultrasound, and they came back and they said, what we thought was the cancer on the liver wasn't, and he was a candidate for chemotherapy. So we started chemo that day. And that was kind of the start of the whole journey. And again, chemo sessions were running about $700 a session. I called Project Canine Hero up. They didn't blink an eye. They said, we'll fund it. And, we started chemo, and we did about 5 sessions, one every 2 weeks. And, he had his good days and bad days. Normally, after the third day, he was very nauseous, didn't want to eat. But he powered through that like the fighter that he was. And that's when I really started to want to document the journey on social media, just to kind of show, what these dogs go through in retirement and the fight. And it really started to resonate with people, but I didn't want to make it all, gloom or doom. So I tried to do some fun stuff in some dark times. So I did like a little John Cena thing where we wore Never Give Up t-shirts on one of the days, and we took pictures, and I had him come out to John Cena's theme song, and then I did a Rocky theme where he came out in a boxing outfit and with gloves on, and I had the No Easy Way Out theme song, playing, and it really started to resonate with people where I wasn't only, resonating with the working dog community, but now it's resonating with actually people going through chemotherapy and cancer, where people were reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I'm going through chemo right now, and I'm having a really hard time, and I wanted to quit, but I see Tambo fighting, and that inspires me to fight more." And where it hit me really deep, Jennifer, is when parents started reaching out to me and saying that their son or daughter is going through cancer, and Tambo's pictures or his little themes are giving them light in a dark time, and that really hit me deep, especially being a new father. And so from there, I knew
Yeah.
I wanted, we were on a journey that was much bigger than ourselves.